Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Superstock live stream, March 25th, 2021. We are back with NG Energy, GASX on the TSE Venture. Serafino Iacono, CEO of the company. Serafino, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having us again.
Serafino, you have some very exciting news that just recently came out. You got the resource estimates. We're going to dive into all of that. One of the things that we focus on, or I should not, one of the things, the thing that we focus on with our, live stream platform is to bring investors those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside. So, companies, we going after either massive market opportunities, they have, major new discoveries, things like that, which can really have a dramatic impact on stock prices. So I want you to explain to our audience what is so compelling about what you're doing, with natural gas in Colombia. Why should investors be excited about this? Because a lot of our audience, especially the Americans, they don't know where Colombia is. So give us the big picture.
No problem. Thank you. Look, it's the compelling story over here is threefold. First of all, you have a company that when I picked it up had a $4 million market cap. It had some concessions, no development. We took the company from a $3 million market cap to a $150 million market cap. So that's been in the last 2 years. How do we do that? The compelling story, it's the second part of the story. We have fantastic assets in a country that has a shortage of natural gas, and it's a country of almost 50 million people that need to grow, and the consumption of natural gas is twice as much as the production of natural gas, which makes natural gas being a very expensive situation for you to develop, and makes it very costly. So we are a company that has a very big potential in creating huge revenues that will bring in rewards to our investors in very big numbers. Just to give you an idea, natural gas in Colombia sells for $2.30 to $2.50 per million BTUs. In Colombia, we sell the same natural gas between $5.08 to $7 per million BTUs. Our lifting cost in Colombia, it's 25 cents per million BTUs. And
it's a big profit opportunity, basically.
It's huge. When on oil you make $5 and $10 a barrel, equivalent barrel of oil to gas, to natural gas, because at the end it becomes equivalent, you're making $30, not $5 or $10. So it's a bigger reward. It's less risky. And it's something that these days has become a very big thing because it's green. The greenest thing that you can get in natural gas, it's natural gas right now. Everybody's talking about electric cars and everybody's talking about electric.
This is the thing. You need, to generate that electricity, they're going to need natural gas to generate the electricity for the electric cars and all that stuff. For the iPhone.
You have three things that you're going to be using in the world. Look. I'm going to give, maybe for your audience, it's very good to understand because everybody's talking green right now. I agree that we have to go green. But everybody's talking about going green in cars and going green in computers and going green in everything. Solar it's a 33% efficiency. The maximum that solar is going to go, it's 44% efficiency. That is the molecule that comes from the sun. The most that you have under these days, it's 44% efficiency. We're almost there. Wind, it's 60% efficiency. We're at 45, 46% efficiency of wind already with the technology that we have. That doesn't solve, and even with this efficiency, it's only 3% of the energy that is used in the world.
They can't scale with, with alternative energy.
Look, 100 megawatts of electricity, which is to light a town of 40,000 people, maybe 50,000 people, 100 mega, all right, would need 40 square kilometers of solar power to make the electricity that it needs. And it can make it only in the daytime, because at night you will need battery and you will need a huge storage facility. So reality is you're going to have three choices that you're going to use as energy to make that green: nuclear, hydro, or natural gas if you want to make it clean. And then comes coal, and then comes diesel. So natural gas is becoming the premier transitional energy maker that it's going to be what's going to change the world. So we're betting on that. And it's, you already see it in a country like Colombia that is importing natural gas into the country from the United States. And by the time it leaves the US at $3 per million BTUs, it's $12 per million BTUs in Colombia. So this is the great thing. We have assets that with major discoveries of natural gas. So maybe we go and talk a little bit about the projects and what makes it. That's the third step.
Should I pop up the slide on the screen just while you're talking, so people can kind of get an idea of the assets? Okay. Right. So, I think what we should do also, might as well address the report, the resource report that came out last week. The market was excited about that. So why don't we talk about, why don't you kind of go through the report while we have the slide up on the screen?
It gives you an idea of how sometimes the markets work. We've been very conservatively talking to our audience and our shareholders saying, look, we have three projects: Maria Conchita, Sinu 9, Tiburon. Tiburon is much more greenfield expansion, very, very big potential of natural gas, 3 to 4 BCFs of natural gas. Maria Conchita is our near production. In the next 2 months, we're going to put Maria Conchita into production. That's going to start generating cash flow in this company at the tune of $35 million a year in revenues.
Okay, so this is near term. This is basically, we're talking about by May.
No, this is tomorrow. This is literally, we're building the pipeline. Okay. And this week we're drilling our second well, which I will talk about. So Maria Conchita, when we started, we said it's got 35 BCFs, billion cubic feet of gas, in proven. And potentially, we said it's got 80 to 90 million BCFs of gas, billion cubic feet of gas. The exchange came over, and then we went to Sinu 9, and we said, and Sinu 9, which is our big baby, is a monster that we believe has between 700 and a TCF of gas. The exchange came over and said, look, under 51-101 rules, which we respect, and it's the right thing to do, you cannot say that until you do a 51-101. So please do a 51-101, and then you can say that you got the 200, the 100 million BTUs of, or billion cubic feet of gas, or you got the 1 TCF of gas. Well, the report was done, we filed it, and what came out is that we were being very conservative, as we usually are, and what came out that Maria Conchita has between 1 and 1.75 TCFs of gas, and Sinu 9, and Maria Conchita doesn't have one, it has 2 billion cubic feet of gas. So what does it mean? We doubled our potential now certified by the exchange, which makes this project even more attractive, because instead of having a 10-year life of a field, it's got 20 years, 15 years.
So this is I mean, this is like a game changer, basically. I mean, so in theory, Serafino, so in theory, should the stock be worth double what it was, 2 weeks ago?
I urge your audience to look at a company called Canacol Resources, which is our neighbor in Sino 9. Canacol's got I think it's $800 million market cap. It's a fantastic company run by a very smart guy. He's done a great job. He was one of the guys that actually started looking at the idea of going into natural gas and divesting from oil because he was seeing what was happening. But it's got an $800 million market cap. It's a company that's got an enterprise value because it built a lot of infrastructure, probably $1.5 billion with the debt that they have in value. But it's a company that does $300 million in revenues every year, 300 or 350, I think it is. That is the model that you got to look at us becoming in the next 2 years. Why? Because in Maria Conchita, we drilled the first well, which is going to give us 20 million cubic feet of gas a day in production. Sunday, we spud our second well, which is Istanbul. Istanbul, we are projecting 3 to 4, possibly 5 million cubic feet of gas a day. If it's that, or it might be bigger. But regardless, if you look at 25 million to 30 million cubic feet of gas a day, you're talking about $50 million in EBITDA in the company starting 2022. That's tomorrow. We're going to start drilling this week, the second well. We're building the infrastructure, which is fully financed to build a pipeline to connect to the main distribution line so that we can start selling our gas. We already have a market done, a 508 per million BTUs. We can sell our gas. And possibly the second gas that we take out of the Istanbul, it's going to be sold between $5.50 and $6. So an average of $5.50 per million BTUs, a cost of operation of $1.55 or $1.50 when you want to look at it, and a net profit of $3.50 before taxes and royalties. So that's big money.
Okay, so this is very compelling. So wait, so right now, what's the market cap of the company? How many the shares out? What's the?
We got 90. We got 100 million shares out, and we have about $135 million market cap. But again, compare it 2 years from now, where we're going to be the size of Canacol in delivering gas, more or less at the same amount. They do 200 million cubic feet of gas a day. Between Maria Conchita and Sino 9, 2 years from now, we should be in the same range.
And so basically, what, 300 million annual revenues?
I think it's 350 that they do.
350
or 350 or possibly 400.
Okay, so basically, so you're saying so Canacol is essentially the same. It's a direct comp.
It's our next door neighbor. It's going to be the same kind of company.
Same exact thing. Okay, so it's very okay. So that actually makes it a very, very easy story for investors to understand. Just look at this Canacol. What's the symbol on Canacol?
I apologize. I don't know the symbol.
We'll look it up. But anyway, so basically same idea. Except they're getting in here at at 100, basically at an eighth of the price.
You're getting, look, if you would have believed our story a year ago, our stock was trading at 35 cents. Before that, it was trading at 10 cents a share when I picked up the company 2 years ago. Today, the company trades at $1.40, $1.50 a share. And the best part that we have as a company, we got zero debt. Our project in Maria Conchita, it's financed, and it's going to be self-financed by cash flow. In Sino 9, the first 5 wells are fully financed by a company that is taking the risk, because the risk is minimum for them to build the facility and to do the project. So we got our first 5 wells, that's $25 million worth of investment, guaranteed that they're going to finance it for us. So we have zero risk on that. And in September of this year, we're probably going to drill our first well in Sino 9. And once we drill our first well in Sino 9, and we believe that it's going to be between 30 and 50 million cubic feet of gas a day, just think about it. We are right now projecting out of 20 million cubic feet of gas a day, $35 million in EBITDA a year. 50 million, it's twice, it's 2.5 times that production just out of one well in Sino 9. That means that our EBITDA will go to $100 million. And then take a company like us and you put a multiple of 5 to 7, and that's where you get your numbers.
Okay. And Serafino, and I think you mentioned last time we did the live stream that your plan is, again, because it's a cash flow business, so essentially there's going to be a
dividend paying company, because
Okay.
it's going to be making, and the great advantage that we have, that the way we organize this company, because we don't have to build the infrastructure, for example, that other companies had to build. We are right next to, God is giving us a great gift. We are 14 kilometers from the major pipeline that goes south, 25 kilometers to the pipeline that delivers to the 3 major cities in the north of Colombia. And we are in Sino 9, we are right next to the Canacol project that already has spent millions of dollars in infrastructure, and we have to build a pipeline that it's 25 kilometers to hook up either to the north or to the south to deliver natural gas to 3 of the major cities in Colombia, and they all need natural gas.
Okay, so let's jump into some audience questions.
When can we expect dividends in Q4 2000? Yes, the idea is by Q4 2022, this company is going to have all of this program financed, and then this company, and I am aligned to shareholders. I'm the second largest shareholder in the country. I mean, in the company. So to me, I want to pay dividend to our shareholders.
Okay, so Q4 2022. So this is 18 months from now. Okay, this is a good question. Actually, I was going to ask you a variation of this. So, so Dino is asking if this happens, what would be the stock price in your opinion? Actually, and I want to ask my version of the question, which is, what do you feel? Again, just your opinion. What do you feel the stock is worth right now?
I think our stock is worth right now about should be worth somewhere around $3 to $4 a share.
Right now.
Right now.
Bottom line, okay.
With what we have and the potential that we have, and take it for resource of what we have in resource. And it's got the right question. What do you pay as a company? The way I will look at it, what do you pay per million BTUs of natural gas in the ground as a company? So if you're going to be selling it for $5 per million BTUs, so, and I have 200 million in one concession, and I have $1 billion in the other, take out what I will pay in the ground on oil or what I will pay in the ground per gas. Gas is somewhere between 25 cents and 50 cents per million BTUs. Take 25 cents and 50 cents per million BTUs and multiply it by the production that you have every single day, which is 20 million in Maria Conchita, and so on. You just take your reserve calculation of 1.5 TCFs of gas and put a price of 25 cents per million BTUs. And that gives you the number. And I believe that this company should be a $500 million company right now as we speak, with the reserves that it has.
Okay. So for you, I think one thing you should add again for anybody that might be new is you've done you've done this before. I mean, talk about a little bit about your track record, kind of in the energy field in Latin America. You've had some massive
Well,
wins.
look,
At least from a stock perspective, 100x win. So
the company that my people are all oil people. We built probably what was the largest oil company privately owned in Latin America, which was Pacific Rubiales Energy. Pacific Rubiales was a company that when I was involved, we started with $35 million investment, mostly my money and some of my partners' money. We took it to a $14 billion company. The company, at the end of its life, got into trouble because it got heavy into debt for growing. And number two, the price of oil went from $150 to $25 a barrel. But still, the company got rescued, and today it's called, I think it's called Frontera Energy. And Frontera Energy, it's a $600 million company.
But the stock, what happened to the stock? Just give us the stock.
Well, the stock under our administration went from 35 cents to $29 a share.
Oh, so it's
over
not
5 years.
96x.
Yeah.
96.
It was one of the most successful stocks, and anybody that was a U.S. investor, Canadian investor, in the first 10 years of the company, believe me, not only did it make a lot of money, we also paid $7 billion over 5 years in dividend in that company.
That's real cash.
Yeah. So investors did really, really well in that company. We created a smaller company. Our company is a company now that is lean and mean. And this is very important because you have to learn lessons also from your past. We were a company with 40,000 employees at one point. Okay,
wow,
40,000 employees.
Okay.
We learned a lesson in life that being lean and mean is good. Our G&A in this company is $1 million a year. We keep it to the minimum. Why? Because we want to spend our money. We want to spend our money where you're supposed to spend your money, which is in the ground. So we have 7 people that run our company. Anybody else that works for our company is people that we hire to do a specific job. I'll pay you, see you later. Next time that I need you, I'll come and get you. And we are a company that decided that we are not going to load ourselves with debt. Debt, to me, is a terrible thing. Once you start making money and you start making cash, you build your company with your own cash, and the excess cash, you pay a dividend. That's the way it should be.
Okay, makes sense. I think in the energy business, right? It's very you get a lot of ups and downs. The debt is that fixed cost is sometimes hard to.
But it's a good thing for the audience to know. If you look at the historical price of natural gas in the last 14 years in Colombia, it's between $4 and $9 per million BTUs. We are right now
at the bottom of the range.
On the bottom of the range, going up because they're starting to now import natural gas. And the delta between the gas that is imported in Colombia, that it's between $9 and $12 per million BTUs, and the local gas that goes between $5 and $7, it's starting to catch up. And the number is going to be somewhere between the $12 and the $7. So it's going to be somewhere around $7, $8 per million BTUs. That's what natural gas.
So are you locked into? You mentioned the $5 range. Are those short-term contracts?
I only locked up for the first well.
Okay.
For 4 years,
okay.
I have a lockup.
Okay.
And the reason is because that well cost us $3.5 million to develop it. I amortize it in the first 4 months of operation. The rest, it's free.
Good deal. Okay. What about you, Serafino? You want to talk about, before we wrap up, you want to talk about some of the blue sky projects that you have?
The blue sky in this thing is all the CNU 9. CNU 9, I don't think it's going to stop at 1.5 TCF of gas. It's a huge concession. It's got conventional gas. It's got non-conventional gas in the south, and it's got oil in the northwest of the concession. So there is a lot of growing upside, but the biggest that we have on our portfolio is Tiburon. Tiburon sits surrounded by three of the major projects in Colombia. It's in the tip of the Guajira. Tiburon sits surrounded by a project called Orca that you see over there, Orca 1, 8 TCF of gas. Ballena, that is right next to Maria Conchita. And Ballena has been producing for the last 50 years 60% of the gas that Colombia uses, that it's close to 500 million cubic feet of gas a day. And Perla, which is the largest discovery of natural gas in the Caribbean. It's on the Venezuelan side, owned by Repsol. It's 17 TCFs of gas, 17 trillion cubic feet of gas. That is enough gas for you to give a city like Miami electricity for the next 100 years.
Wow, that's a good. It's a lot of electricity. That's a lot of electric power for Tesla cars or whatever else people are going
to. Well, everybody's talking about that they want to go electric. Nobody has told me where the electricity is going to come from. It's got to come from someplace, and that's what I said. Nuclear, hydro, and natural gas. Those are the three closest things. You don't want a nuclear power plant right next to your house. Nobody wants it. So it's going to be a while before they start building nuclear power plants. Natural gas is going to be the winner of this thing.
Okay. Sophia, let's wrap up in terms of what else can we expect in terms of news flow, and how often should investors expect to see news releases? Because a lot of
watch next week news release of our drilling in Istanbul well. Istanbul well is going to be drilled, and we're going to be announcing our success within the next 2 weeks. We're going to test it for 15 days, as you got to test it, and then we're going to be announcing it. And then after that, it's going to be the hookup in the next 3 months. It's going to be the hookup of the natural gas, commercialization of the natural gas. That's a big event because it creates cash flow. And after that, it's going to be CNU 9 somewhere in the summer.
Okay, so there's a string of catalysts potentially for the stock.
Lots of them. Lots of them.
Okay. Sefrin, to wrap up, last question, our favorite, which we ask is, in your opinion, top 3 reasons for investors to consider GASX shares today.
The most compelling reason is organic growth in the concessions. So big growth potential, cash flow. It's the other catalyst. And the third most important to me is a company with almost no debt or zero debt. We don't have any debt. And it's a company that is going to be a big producer in a country that's got big growth in natural gas usage and very little risk. Colombia is a BBB plus rated by Fitch and by Moody as one of the safest countries to invest in Latin America.
Okay. Sofino, on that note, I want to thank you. I guess everybody in our audience is looking forward to next week's news flow.
We will be happy to come and talk to you about it. Thank you very much, and great seeing you again.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sofino.
Take care.
Okay, let's get ready for our next presenter. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Do we have? Okay. Okay, stand by. All right, we're back with Jay Hutton. Jay, welcome back.
Thank you, Jack. That's some new groovy intro music.
You like the little countdown clock? You know, we're trying to be more high tech to to be on level with the Visibility's high tech thing.
Elon Musk is launching satellites, and so the countdown is very trendy at the moment, right?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Wow, I didn't even think about that. But listen, what's more? I think what's more impressive than Elon Musk's satellites, because that's kind of like whatever that's out there. What you're doing in Latin America, with the stores, media, the whole thing you're doing, which is going to be, it's a game changer for the retail physical world, the Google of the physical space.
Yeah, I just sat through the previous interview, and
I guess by coincidence, the guys in Colombia.
In Latin America.
Went over my head, yeah.
I think it's a fascinating marketplace because it's got incredible growth potential. There's a lot of people there, and in many ways, it's leading some of the categories. I could certainly suggest, as you mentioned, stores, media, the whole idea of physical retail becoming a channel for media is really grabbed a hold pretty significantly in Latin America, despite COVID and all the other negative influences on retail. And in many ways, the announcement we did with Anheuser-Busch and Grupo Modelo is inspiring the rest of the marketplace to think about this as a bona fide, no longer guesswork, no longer a possibility, now absolutely happening. And because of that deal, I don't know if I could connect the dots directly, but because of that deal, we're getting involved in conversations that are as significant in the US. And right now, just to put it in a global context, it's the largest retail digital network being built at the moment by many orders of magnitude. So to be involved in that conversation as a little micro cap company, especially with the partners that we have, it's an honor and a privilege, frankly.
So we're going to dive into all that. So I for the second time I see you wearing a tie. You must have some big meetings. We've never seen you tie. This is like...
I had seen the earlier interview, and I saw you were wearing a tie, so I had to go.
Yeah. All right. So Jay, let's I think the theme for today is really traction. I mean, I think investors who have been following the VSB story since November, they're kind of getting the sense that all of a sudden, in the last, probably since December, the pace, is really increasing, the partnerships. I think the theme for 2021 is the traction you're having in the market. So before we kind of get into, we're going to get an update. I want to get an update from you on, the Modelo deal, everything else you're doing in Latin America. Again, in a nutshell, anybody that's new, what does Visibility Group do in the, in the stores media space?
Well, in the stores media space, we are a company that's helping create the store as a bona fide, realistic media channel. If you can think about other media channels that we're all incredibly familiar with, as broadcast media, print, the internet, these are all, important media channels. But if you think about those in the perspective and how they compare to one another, broadcast is dead or dying, print is dead or dying. And, I'm certain that there are people within those marketplaces that would make a cogent argument otherwise, but the truth is the internet has picked up, 80, 90% of the ad spend for all the major brands. And principally it has done so because it is a measurable medium. Jack, we're doing this broadcast right now over the internet. Precisely and definitively how many people are viewing you in real time. This is the benefit of the internet, right? So the hypothesis of visibility for 5 years now has been, if we can use artificial intelligence, computer vision, to measure physical space for initially the benefit of identifying for brands and advertisers, how many people, how many men, how many women, how many 25-year-olds, how many 35-year-olds, all that data, in many ways, I would argue superior in terms of the data metrics than the internet can deliver. If we can do that for physical bricks and mortar, we give that marketplace a brand new life as an advertising medium. And this was conjecture for many years, not many years, a few years, and now it's real. The ABI deal, the Grupo Modelo deal in Latin America, of course, as well as others, but that deal says that this is a realistic proposition.
Okay,
It is
so
generating. Go ahead, Jack.
So let's dive in. So basically, before we get into the model, the opportunity that you're going after, the stores media, essentially, it's essentially what Google does for internet ads, you're doing for physical spaces. So how big is the opportunity? And then we'll dive into the Modelo deal again.
Globally, this marketplace is hundreds of billions of dollars in size. No doubt about it. I mean, in the US alone, there's many tens of thousands of retailers that are interested in this. More importantly, the biggest brands on the planet, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, we all know who they are looking for new ways to impact persons at the point of sale.
At the point of
advertising, right. Digital display does that. And more importantly, it used to be fire and forget. I would purchase advertising and whatever happens, happens. Now we can measure that precisely and in real time. So this is a game changer for the media business with respect to retail.
And one of the things that you're doing is you're doing these what do you call what do you call this? The freezers or the glass front you can run ads on the video.
If you think about retail, think about the places in retail that are easily monetizable. And we think of really four. The entrance to the store, you come in, you're immediately impacted with digital display that gives you options, promotions, specials, and it's all curated to you, demographically speaking. I'm not going to get a promotion that is really destined for a 25-year-old female. I'll get promotion destined for a 50-plus-year-old man. So it's curated for me, not by identity, but by demographic. So that's one place, very high value. The end caps, I'm getting shopper geeky for a moment, but the ends of the aisles are high traffic locations. Not all of them, some of them. And we measure all that. That's another place where monetization can occur because that's extremely high traffic. In the aisle is another place where we talk about things like category takeover. If you're a coffee company like Nestle, you may wish to take over 16 feet of shelf space, do digital display, and then measure the performance of that. And then the fourth place is, as you mentioned, cooler. Cooler because of two reasons. One, it's physically large. This is a 41 to 50-inch space on a cooler, and it's a destination location. How often do you say, okay, I got to stop by the grocery store to pick up a case of beer? Or, so it's people go ignoring everything else, going straight to the cooler as a destination, get what they need and leave. So it's a very high value location. And think of all the brands that are interested in impacting you at that point of purchase. The point is, it's an extremely valuable marketplace. It was valuable before, but it wasn't measurable before. It's now measurable. It has ROI. And that's more than anything what's exploding the category.
Okay, we're going to get into some audience questions because I think today really is that's what we're going to focus on, audience questions. Because it's been a while since we had you on. We got to bring you on because right now the markets are crashing. A lot of investors are worried. What's going on with these companies? Are the companies just going to fade away? I mean, the reality is actually what's interesting is the fundamentals of VSB. Actually, a lot of our clients, the fundamentals are actually better today than they were, 2 months ago at the peak of the market, right? So I mean, the market's come back, but let's get into the Modelo deal because I think that's the big thing that everybody's focusing on. Right? So give us an update. What's going on with Grupo Modelo? How's the rollout going?
It's a big thing the shareholders are focused on. It's also a big thing we're operationally focused on. So we concluded our operating agreement with Grupo Modelo a couple weeks ago, and it was announced. And we're right now in deployment in Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Mexico.
Oh, it's the theme. It's our theme today. Colombia, you're in Colombia.
There you go. Yeah. Those are probably the most buoyant retail marketplaces, the ones that have suffered less specific restrictions that connected to COVID, and they're underway at the moment. And what's most important about those 4 locations is we're beginning to secure media contracts. So at the end of the day, it's about deployment that generates the SaaS revenue line of revenue for us that we're familiar with. license per endpoint per month. But because we're part of a joint venture that generates media revenue, we're monetizing this network. The next sort of component to indicate traction would be getting interested advertisers to buy space on the network. That's happening right now. So we're booking, we're in the 7 figures right now of beginning to put contracted advertisers in place on this network. Some of this is a prospective buy. If you build this many units by this amount of time, we will buy this many units, which is precisely what you would do at this point of the deployment. So the metrics are we'll be in a several hundred locations by the end of this month in those 4 countries. We'll be in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 2,000 by the late part of May or early part of June, and by 5,000 locations by the end of this year.
Okay. So this is very interesting. I don't think I've heard you say that you're actually already selling ads. So you're selling ads right now as we speak. You have contracts coming in.
Well, not just selling. Yeah, that's the second piece. Yeah, sure, you can sell all day long. We're actually securing business with brands that want to buy space in the network. Okay. So that's critical.
You know what's interesting? Again, one of the challenges of what you're doing, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing. People like, if you build it, they will come. So you got to have the network, then you got the ads, and the network, they want to see the location. So
that's a really insightful comment. In the media business, it's all about reach, locations. If you're Procter & Gamble, you're not all that interested in buying a media network that can hit 500 locations. You are interested in buying a media network that hits 5,000 locations. And we're basically saying to them, if you buy into the network now, you get basically a right of first refusal for that space going forward. So we're selling a little bit into our future by getting them to commit to network deployments, but we're giving them an immediate deployment capability. It's smaller for sure, but you don't get the bigger until you invest in the smaller, which is essentially our theme.
Okay, but 5,000, just for some context, the 5,000 locations that you plan to be in this year, right? That's really the start. That's not like the end goal. You ultimately, you talk about how many locations are you going to be in within the Modelorama thing in the next 2 years, let's say.
So AB InBev, the parent of Modelorama, has unique supply relationships with over 100,000 independent locations in the 33 countries that constitute the Middle America zone. This is a business unit, the zone. Our objective in this program is 50,000, but we could go as high as 100,000 locations. We'll certainly do 50,000. That's in the contract. That's part of our committed cadence with one another. But there's that again in terms of the available network. This is independent locations for which ABI plays a integral supply chain and procurement relationship with. So it's a very committed group of participants that ABI has enormous influence over.
And this is just one partnership. This is just, we're not even talking about anything. We're not talking about the US. We're not talking about, this is just one area.
Listen, it's a big contract, and there's no doubt that the focus of the executive management team and our shareholders is on this contract for sure, because we need to get it operational and underway and creating revenue and all those sorts of things. But it is having enormous impact on the industry, not just little visibility, but the industry is being impacted by this deal because it really puts the cornerstone of the logic of Stora's media in place. It's got one of the most iconic brands in the world. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, we got a great audience question that came up with it. So Eric is asking, have you experienced increased demand and interest due to the Modelo deal? Is that like a catalyst for,
That's exactly what I was just referring to. We have been the net beneficiary of proximity to one of the most iconic brands in the world, and because of that, we're getting opportunities to go after new business that looks and feels similar. Nothing of that size, but 1,000 stores, 2,000 stores in the US is now a fairly common occurrence for us to sort of be in discussions with. But this Latin American deal is, in terms of size, it's enormous for the globe, for everybody in the industry. It's a big deal.
Okay, so let's jump to some audience questions here. Do you think you'll sign deals in the US as big as the Modelorama deal?
Well, there's nothing in the US as big as the Modelorama deal, 50 to 100,000 stores. There's no single network. However, when you're delivering a media proposition, the idea of connecting multiple networks together to create a bigger network is a very valid assertion. So in the wholeness of the deals that we're pursuing in the US together, it's reasonable to assume that a network can evolve that looks and feels and has about the same sizing as Modelorama, but they're independent deals put together to create a broader network. And by the way, it's a really important and strategic thing to do, because the bigger you are, media is about reach. The bigger you are, the more attractive your impressions are.
Okay, and so in terms of what's happening in the U.S., do you have any locations? Do you have any partnerships in the U.S. right now? What are your plans for that market?
More to come, I would say, is the best way to answer that question. We have important partners. I think you know about WestRock, and we also have Sensormatic. Both of those organizations are doubling down on the stores media category in a fairly big way, in actually an interesting collaborative way, which we didn't expect. And I would expect that that's going to yield some announcements this year in the stores media space here in the U.S. The U.S. is trailing the rest of the market by 3 to 6 months.
Interesting, right? Yeah, because I know like some markets are much more advanced. Like I mean, they're actually much more advanced than the U.S. in terms of like advertising and marketing. Like Asia. I mean, it's much Latin America. It's just the U.S. kind of lags behind this here for some reason, even though the U.S. is advertising.
Yeah, it's my impression that Latin America is, ironically as this may sound, or as odd as it may sound, is leading the marketplace in terms of digitization and monetization of retail. And not just Modelorama, but we have other deals in Latin America, both prospective deals and underway that are would reinforce that assertion.
Oh, one thing we should add, again, for anybody that might be brand new to the story, Jay, do you want to touch upon the kind of your technology? Essentially, you have a technology platform that allows you to offer to show either ads and marketing, and also there's a security component, AI security components. You want to touch upon that?
Sure.
Which actually, again, it's interesting. I mean, I'm not. There was a shooting a store in a retail store just a couple of days ago in Colorado, right? I mean,
yeah, this will allow me an opportunity to speak about a new relationship we announced in early February of this year with 911 Inform, because that's the security side of our business. We're computer vision. So we actually teach computers coupled with cameras to interpret video streams. We do this for, we do this for retail effect. I mentioned before, identifying men versus women, identifying 25-year-olds versus 35-year-olds, identifying sentiment. And in a marketing context, sentiment, happy versus unhappy, is an important metric. But it's the same software, the same plumbing that identifies a weapon in a public space, or a person of interest in a public space that has a nexus with retail, because a shoplifter might be a person of interest in a physical store. But the whole idea of computer vision is we teach computers to identify in streaming video, live video, things of note: weapons, license plates, persons of interest, vehicle fires, the number of people on a street, the number of cars on a street. These are all civic utility capabilities. That's the whole security side of our business. An important deal we did in early February is with the leading player in security systems for schools. And we're really excited about it, because that's a category where we think there's a really compelling opportunity. And I'll give you quickly the use case that we're pursuing with them. Computer vision has this ability, and there's cameras everywhere in schools today, schools, hospitals, commercial buildings. What if we had the ability, in the event of, say, an active shooter event? Tragically, that's a more common than we like to admit. But what if in that event, the emergency responders could identify, by way of opening up cameras, exposing those camera views to analytics that would identify guns in a specific room? You could actually follow the shooter from room to room by allowing the AI to identify a weapon. So on the east wing is where the shooter is. Well, that means you can evacuate the west wing. One of the things we know about Parkland and other tragic events in the schools is that injured persons bled out because law enforcement couldn't go in and clear the building because they didn't know where the shooter was. So this whole idea of identifying cameras, pulling those camera feeds into a live AI infrastructure that can identify weapons, 10 cameras, 1,000 cameras, 10,000 cameras, is a really important capability. This is what 911 Inform does. They also do this ability where if there is a weapon detected on the perimeter of the school, immediately goes into lockdown. Automatically, the school goes into lockdown, prevents the shooter from entering the school proactively. AI gives us the ability to be proactive about security, not simply reactive, closing the door when the horses have escaped. So to me, it's a really exciting category. Go ahead, Jack.
You know, it's funny. Like when we were first speaking, I mean, it's funny. Back in November, this wasn't an issue, right? This wasn't. All of a sudden, you're starting to see this type of thing more. You know, you're starting to see an increasing pace of these type of events. So this thing that happened in Colorado, actually, this would have been. I mean, I don't want to. This again, but it would have been a really the ideal kind of environment for your system because it's a supermarket. You have the displays, the stores, media, plus the security component. I know we talked about originally the U.S. is not as eager to go into the security stuff, but now they might be more.
This is not a concealed weapon problem.
Right.
This is a brandished weapon. This is an AR-15 that we can pick up in milliseconds. And so if we can pick that weapon up outside, which we can do with current technology, and we connect that to some sort of workflow, some sort of mechanism that locks the shopping market down, that's going to save lives. So we're excited about that.
So okay. So in other words, your system, the way it could work is on the outside there. So for example, in the supermarket, right, in the outside, in the parking lot, whatever it is, you have a big display sign which shows today's specials. There's a small camera built in which ties into your AI because that's your technology and as soon as it sees anybody, walking out of their car, taking out an AR-15 from the trunk of their car, the door's shut.
That's precisely correct. And we don't have a dependency on the display, even though the broader the narrative is, the more we can add value.
Yeah.
But the critical piece of the 911 Inform relationship is connecting an alert to things that are of relevance inside the building, like locking down the facility. That connected tissue is what makes it really valuable.
Okay, so again, I think the key thing for I want to keep reemphasizing because really the company at its core is an AI company, right? Essentially,
yeah, we are. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's your AI, it's your technology platform that allows you to kind of target the ads to the demographic, male, female. The same AI is able to again see if there's kind of suspicious behavior in at a concert venue, any public venue, which might be a threat to people there, and at the same time you're serving ads. So it's a very all this good stuff. So let's jump into see if we have some more questions. The casino stuff. What's going on? Any update on? I think we're doing something with casinos to track
casinos
cheaters.
I'm fascinated by the casino business. I happen to have two partners that have long-standing relationships in the casino business, so I'm learning from them on the fly here. But I can tell you that there's no more environment where they're more security conscious than the casino market. It's like a federal government buildings in many ways. So we're active and live in deployments with casinos right now, but it's like Fight Club. You can't talk about them, and we have the opportunity to talk about them in the fullness of time. But where we are right now is we can't. But we're doing weapons detection, crowd counting, because that's an important component to what casinos are interested in doing. How many people are in their casino at one time, which of course in COVID has a brand new section to it. So we're doing counting, weapons detection, and facial recognition, all from a single camera infrastructure, which is a unique capability of us.
Okay, it's a very interesting because in that environment, in that casino environment, I mean, it's they could really, I mean, with your AI, kind of the data, it's very, 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 very valuable. I mean, they could track. In other words, I don't know, which games are getting more traffic. They can move
That's right.
things. There's a lot. I mean, this is like a whole data.
Not just what games, Jack, but wouldn't it be interesting to offer a casino demographic feedback on the games that are attractive and when they're attractive?
Yeah.
Do the 25-year-old females play craps on a Friday night, or they play blackjack? That kind of thing is now very possible with computer vision.
Okay, and I mean that's worth millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
Literally, it's because they can do target promotions. I mean, it pays for itself. I mean, because it's it would really pay for itself. Okay, let's jump to some more questions. Can you read it? Okay, so is the JV with Modelo segregating the media and retail deployment? So I'm confused, but I'm like, so more JV. Okay, I'm confused by the question. Can you understand the question?
I'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
The objective of the joint venture with Modelorama, just to be clear, will be in place in the June timeframe. The objective of that is to take what you might call a dedicated network of stores over which Modelorama has enormous influence, deploy digital display, audience measurement, and security, and then take that and monetize it by selling components of that airtime, if you will, to the major brands. That's the objective of the program. And that's particularly identifying the fact of store as media, because the display piece, the measurement piece gives you all the analytics, footfall analytics, demographic analytics, and the security piece provides some level of comfort and security to the entrepreneur that's running the operation. Those are the objectives of the Modelorama joint venture. And the second part of that question was, do you see more joint ventures? Well, if we get an opportunity to do a big joint venture with an iconic brand like AB InBev again, we certainly will do that. Yes.
Okay, Mitch is asking, when do the next financials come out, and will they reflect any impact from the recent partnerships? Will we see any impact of the recent partnerships in the next financials?
The next financials are fiscal 2020, and they're out in the next 30 to 45 days. And that year will show significant growth. There'll be very early Modelorama revenue in the financials, because we did some proofs of concepts going back as early as September of last year, but it won't be significant. You'll begin to see that revenue climb in Q1, which of course will be released, I guess, about 30 days after the fiscal. And what will happen in Q1 is, for the first time, I'm proud to say, we'll begin to track bookings and billings, and both metrics will be climbing. And I'm excited about that, because that's exactly what our shareholders are looking for. We're not necessarily looking for a $50 million quarter, even though that would be wonderful. But what I'm beginning to communicate is, my job is to communicate how the bookings are growing and how the billings are growing. Bookings being a reflection of your forward contract revenues that you booked, and then billings is the recognized revenue on a quarter-by-quarter basis. And both those metrics will be growing. If you're doing business properly, your bookings will outpace your billings. So you'll speak about your bookings, and your billings will be catching up to the bookings.
Oh, interesting. Any new? What's going on with your anything new on the R&D front in terms of developing new AI algorithms?
We're always building and retraining, to use a geeky word for a moment, algorithms. Yes, there's plenty of those coming down the pipe. We're also taking algorithms from the OpenZoo, which is Intel's open source database. We're then adding our retraining capability, which is unique to us, and deploying them in some instances as well.
Okay, so Bob asking an extensive question here. Okay, so after the new deployment partner is on board, and if you are EBITDA positive in Q3 with an $18 million run rate by year end, how do you project pro forma revenue for 2023 with acceleration of deployment?
I think that we've got these numbers, and I'm going to give ranges. For 22, we will book between 35 million and 45 million in revenue. We'll bill about 2/3 of that, just to give the two metrics.
Sam's asking, next catalyst. What catalysts do you have in the upcoming months? And I guess the second thing is, it looks like a great time for business to start opening up more on the retail side. Are you doing more retail?
Oh, for sure. And it's funny. People often comment to me that retail's had a tough 2020. Well, that's true. But what's interesting about it is it's not broad. The retail segment, mass, Nordstrom's, Macy's, they've been hit hard. But grocery is up 140%.
Right.
DIY is up 130%. I mean, there's categories in retail that are just breaking the rules. And it's interesting that those are the categories that are investing in our technology.
Actually, it's interesting. Those are the best. Those are actually the best use cases, right? I mean, for
sure.
Grocery stores, pharmacies,
grocery, pharmacy, DIY, all up year over year. So this idea that COVID has decimated retail, it's a fabrication. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a Nordstrom shareholder because I think they're down 60%. But the rest of the marketplace, and what's interesting is it's created technology acceleration as opposed to reluctance for capital, which we think is fascinating.
Let's see. Another one. What can you talk about? What else we can expect? Do you have any other things you're doing on the security side?
Yeah, I should go back to that last question because there was a question. Yeah, it was part of that last question as well. If you look at our ABI expectations and deployment canter or cadence in Latin America, you might reasonably offer the assumption that it's very difficult for two companies, our local partner Retelligent and us, both of which are smaller companies, even though we're lined up with ABI. There's a challenge in getting equipment, people, and deployments done in 33 countries. It's a big job. 50,000 is a lot. And you would reasonably say, well, it seems like that's a lot for these two small companies to do, even though you might be close in proximity to ABI. What's next for us is securing some partnerships to deploy that successfully and transparently and seamlessly across the footprint of countries that we have in front of us here. Those relationships are being crafted now, and they will represent a very important milestone for us as an organization. So we're excited about that.
Jay, I just realized something. I don't think we ever really talked about this before, but what would make what makes what's compelling about visibility from like kind of a value standpoint for an investor, or kind of your moat, or for strategic buyers. You're really, again, you're kind of have this massive footprint across Latin America, which is a lot of different countries. It's very difficult for somebody to do business in multiple countries, different governments, all this other. So let's say for an Amazon, wanted to get for Amazon, visibility would be a great opportunity.
Well, we're bricks and mortar.
You could buy VSBY.
I think. Well, sir, listen, we've got interest and activity in that area always. I think when they stop calling, you should worry. But it's not from the guys that are dominating the e-commerce landscape that are most interested in what we're doing. It's the guys that are dominating the physical bricks and mortar landscape. And a couple of the partners that we already have relationships with. So, I don't really worry every day about exit. But as a CEO, my job is to keep an eye on that. It's my job in terms of my fiduciary duty to the shareholders. And I can tell you that there's some clear, obvious candidates out there right now. And all you have to do is look at who we're aligned with to identify who they might be. But you're right, as this category grows and as the revenues start to stack up, and they're doing so quickly, there's going to be some crystallization, some activities in the category. No doubt about it.
Okay. Again, I think we should address kind of the economics of the deal. We've kind of gone through the numbers, like per store, how much you can make, that whole subscription model, and especially because what it will mean, let's say when you enter the U.S. market in full force.
Right. Yeah, we should be careful. We should be careful about extrapolation of media values in Mexico to the US because they're vastly different media markets. But in terms of unit level economics, here's what you should know about the 33 countries that constitute the Middle America space that we're going after. The average media value of a Modelorama or a Bodega small footprint store, these are 80 square meter stores. They're tiny. And they have a limited number of SKUs, limited number of brands in that store. So you've got a very contained environment. But the media value to each store might be $400 to $500 US a month. That's the media value of each of those locations. So as you stack up 10,000, 15,000, 35,000, 55,000 stores, you're able to pretty quickly extrapolate what the media value is over that time frame. So in terms of the value to the joint venture, who are securing that revenue from that media revenue, goes to the joint venture, and we have a 33% ownership in that joint venture. That gross revenue over the first 5 years exceeds $500 million. So it's a very significant deal to us, even if we stop at 50,000 and don't go beyond 50,000, it's still a significant deal. The second revenue stream from this deal is the software as a service revenue stream, which thankfully happens outside the joint venture. It doesn't get diluted. We don't share that revenue with any other participants in the joint venture. And in that same period of time, we go from about $1 million in the first year in terms of software as a service revenue to over 10 million by the time we get to 50,000 stores. So it's a significant deal, no matter how you slice it from VSBLTY's perspective. And I guess most importantly, when it comes to deriving the success in Latin America to US applications, because that media value is either 2 or 3x in the US, you've got a real valid and reference configuration that you can take from Latin America to the US, and in many cases, superior economics.
Here's an interesting question. Jason's asking, do you have any kind of metrics that you can offer on how much inventory shrinkage, AKA theft, VSB has saved retail?
The short answer is no, we don't have that sort of packaged up and in a marketing slick, but we should. That's a good idea.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is okay. So this guy. So we have people asking about the share price. Why is the share price stagnating here? God, you should be happy it's not declining. All the other stocks are declining right now. It's actually it's a very good position to be in right now. I think the stock is a great position right now.
I share his frustration.
Right.
But I'm patient. We're well capitalized. We have a strong balance sheet. We have to just focus on execution. I mean, I am paying attention to the stock price, of course, but I expect that we're here transiently. We're not here for a long time.
So Jay, what else? So let's talk about what's coming up, because I think that's what investors kind of need to focus on. Forget about what's in the past, but what's in the future for VSB? Like, what do you have coming up? We should keep an eye on the next I don't know, weeks and months.
Well, I mean, we are continuing to drive our partnerships. We're a company very oriented around partnerships. We've got Sensormatic, we've got Westrock, we have a long-term relationship with Intel, which has been disclosed and shared. We have a relationship in Mexico City with Energetica. This is the guys we're doing the 50,000 camera smart cities deployment with in Mexico City. So we'll continue to build our global partners. And what's really interesting about the work we're doing in Latin America right now is it's rising us up in terms of the food chain of partners that we can talk to. And so we've got a very big partnership that we'll probably be announcing in the next month or two with a tier 1 server and PC manufacturer that's going aggressively into retail. We're excited about that. It's in the final stages now. But that's the type of thing where they have a relationship. They want to start putting applications on their hardware. And we're an application that's attractive and an application that's getting some traction. So we now have a relationship with them that's going into a formal structure soon.
Okay, so Ray J is asking, after the shooting in Colorado, was there more? Are you getting more calls about the security applications now? I mean, it's only been a few days. I don't think, but
interestingly, that Colorado shooting was a few days ago, and yesterday we had a webinar with 911 Inform, which was about providing AI security to hospitals, schools, and commercial buildings. It was extremely well attended. I don't know if it was connected to the Colorado shooting, but it was talking about, among other things, providing defense mechanisms for perimeter detection to alleviate the risk of active shooter events. Coincidentally, and tragically coincidentally, that was the topic of the call, and there was several hundred participants over 60 healthcare institutions that are attended and are all looking at these types of solutions. So I would expect that marketplace is going to be meaningful to us going forward.
Okay. All right. So, what about, let's see, any other updates on partnerships? Anything else that is cooking since we last spoke? Because I know you had a bunch of new starting in December, you signed a bunch of partnerships.
Yeah. We have a couple of commercial initiatives we're doing with a large partner, an existing partner, and that they'll be announced soon, and they'll be represented by developing a certain category of products within a certain space. And I'm thinking specifically about camera as a service. Going forward, it's very likely that customers will consume the cameras together with the software. So we're merging the hardware with the software, and we're selling that as a single operating cost month over month. So it's a very interesting initiative for us. It's very lucrative, and when that's fully put to bed, we'll be announcing initial customers and a commercial relationship that's global.
Jay, let's wrap up on this question, which is, I think it's a great question. What the big picture, what does VSBY look like 3 years from now? Assuming everything goes right.
I fully anticipate that we will achieve and potentially overachieve on our cadence in Latin America. If we just do that, we're 500 to 700 million market cap. I mean, because the deal is so enormous that all you have to do is connect the dots. But of course, we won't be sitting on that deal and that deal alone. So I think that in the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to have opportunities to exit. We'll assess those opportunities as they come along, but certainly the value growth, it is not inconceivable for us to be in the $750 million to $1 billion market cap. And I know you hear that all the time, and I've heard it all the time, but for us, that math is not outlandish. We can see it, and that's our goal.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are there. I mean, it's just a question of doing the math. The number of locations, the revenue per location, the scale. So it's things are.
Which means that at 120 million Canadian market cap, we're still sitting in the bargain territory, in my opinion. So we're in the beginning of that road, and I think that the journey of the aspiration is not crazy. We can get there.
Excellent. Okay, Jay, on that note, thank you, and we'll look forward to hearing more from VSBY, in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today's live stream.